One of the biggest challenges I think with working from home um, is the blur, the blurred landscape that we're all kind of dealing with, and by that I mean in particular that we used to have home, an office. Now we have home office, right? We used to have work life and family life, and for many of us, it's work family life. Right? We used to have the kids at school, and you and your job, and now you have the kids in your job, and you have all kinds of other sort of blurred lines going on when you're working from home, right? You're only inches away from the refrigerator, and wondering if that little extra piece of cheese from last night's dinner is still there, right? So the blurriness, the squishiness that comes from a lack of physical distinction, but also a lack of mental or psychological distinction. And what we need, of course, is to create focus. When we talk about focus, when we talk about that word, one of the things that comes up is this idea of high definition, right? The best screen to be looking at is a high definition screen. I sometimes joke when I go out for my daily walk, I go, wow, everything's so HD. It's at the atom level rather than at the pixel level. But you need to create focus for yourself by creating definition, right? By defining distinctions and boundaries between one thing and another. And when the world has become increasingly chaotic, when entropy is working its magic and tending you toward blurrier and blurrier stuff, it's your job. So a big part of your job, and particularly as someone that's on the path of learning GTD and applying GTD, um, is to create definition for yourself. So it is a big comprehensive methodology, but we're going to focus in on three particular areas that I think could help a lot of you. And the first one is actually the one that came up a lot here, which is contexts. Context, right? The boxes that we create to create definition and clarity. So, in those of you that practice the methodology know that out of usually the kind of one thing that shows up on your mind, very often there are two things that result from what shows up on your mind that go into a trusted system. So out of the one thing of mom that you scribble on a piece of paper comes the desired outcome of mom loves her birthday gift, and the next action of call your sister to make sure she's not going to give her the same thing and she gets two of them. That next action lives in a context where you can then go and access different next action within different contexts that make sense for you to work from. And the kind of traditional approach, let's say the pre-pandemic approach, this sort of stock set that we recommend looks something like this. And again, you're creating menus for your future self, menus of options, places you can go when you say, okay, I'm going out to run some errands or I'm going out and about. What's that menu of options of things I might want to get when I'm out shopping? Okay, I'm at the office. What's my menu of options of things I can do there? And by contrast, you can see things often definition by contrast. I don't want to look at my office list when I'm at home because I can't do the office stuff at home or vice versa. But guess what? Your home is your office. Your office is your home. A lot of these contexts are worth reevaluating, are worth looking at in light of the new kind of life circumstances. So here's some other options. Here's some other potential contexts you could think about. When we think about context at a high level, they are defined by where you are physically, what's appropriate for you to focus on at that point in time, what you want to be focusing on at that point in time, what's a desirable focus, how much time you have available to you, right? External resources, stuff that you have around you or don't have around you, and then finally your own internal resources. And that's one I would recommend that you consider carefully in light of the new kind of working from home world and landscape, is in particular, how are you doing? What's appropriate for you to be focusing on based on the kind of ups and downs and different psychological contexts you might be in as you go along. So for me, one example is I have a writing context now, right? I'm always at my computer. There's always an opportunity for me to be writing, but I often do, extensive pieces of writing. I write blog entries or write educational content, and I'm not always in the right space to necessarily be writing. I'm in a much better space first thing in the morning, and I may go to that writing context and look at some of those things first thing in the morning to knock out a piece of writing and then carry on with emails and other things that require a different kind of headspace to accomplish. Um, some, other people have come up with great ones, stuff you can do in the back garden where, maybe that you don't have to have a screen with glare on it, stuff to do when you just kind of toast at the end of a long day that you still need to do, water the plants and prune your spam folder and whatever. But why not do that at the end of the day when you're kind of crispy, rather than at the beginning when you might want to do some writing or something else, right? Someone wanted a quick wins category. I thought that was great. You're those of you that are dealing with homeschooling as a whole new area of focus. That may be a particular context. It's time or it's appropriate to engage with the kids versus not. Again, creating this definition, creating these boundaries, and so these are great for specific next actions. And we'll talk maybe a little bit too about projects, in particular that idea of projects deferred, or the kind of the post-pandemic stuff where you go, look, I'm not even going to look at this until the world goes back to a little bit more kind of how it was, right? So those are some ideas, some thoughts for you to consider about how you may want to rethink and reshape your own context.